Hi, welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Carrie Littell, and I am an adjunct librarian for Harper College Library. If you are a student who has checked out a Chromebook from the Harper College for this semester, this Tech Tuesday is for you. Today, what we're going to be looking at is a brief overview of the Chromebook and some of the features you can see on the main screen. And then we're going to dive into some shortcuts that you can use with your keyboard, as well as some accessibility shortcuts and some troubleshooting suggestions. Let's start with our overview. So here is our main Chromebook screen. This will look different depending on what image you've added to the background, but we're going to focus our time on the bottom here. So we're going to start from the left. On the left, you see a little circle and it's called the launcher. So I'm going to select that, and then what I get is a little bar that pops up and another arrow that allows me to press up even further. This is our launcher. In the launcher, we can search our device for any application or document that we've saved, and we can also view what applications we have on our Chromebook. Your launcher will look completely different than mine depending on what you've chosen to add to your Chromebook. You can see that I've chosen to add Word, Zoom, Drive, and a variety of others. Anything that you would like to add, you're going to do that by going to the Play Store. If you've used your phone in the past to download any applications, it's going to be the exact same process. So you'll visit the Play Store, search for the application you need, you're going to install it. Once that install is done, you'll go to your launcher and you'll see a little icon showing you that that application is ready for you to use. In addition to having everything on the launcher, we have another nice feature at the bottom, and it's called our shelf. The shelf is a place that we can pin things to that we use on a day-to-day basis. So say you use Chrome or Gmail or Google Docs every single day. Instead of going into your launcher, you can pin it to your shelf, which then shows up down below so that you can readily use it as soon as you open up your computer. To pin things to your shelf, what you'll do is you'll hover over an icon, you'll tap it, and then you'll pin it to the shelf. So once I do that, you can see now down below, that icon is now down below, and now I can access it right away. If by chance I don't want something on my shelf anymore, same thing. I hover over, I tap the icon, and then I can unpin it from my shelf. So you can add and delete things from your shelf depending on your use. In addition, next to the shelf, we have this little line here, and on the right side of that line are other icons. These icons show you what is actually currently open in your computer. So right now I have got PowerPoint and Screencast-O-Matic. Last thing I want to point out before we go back to the presentation is your settings area. So on the right bottom corner, you have a little area that you can tap and go into your settings. Immediately you'll find out who's logged in. You can also sign out. You have a power button, a lock, and you can go into additional settings for the Chromebook. Below that, you have your Wi-Fi connection, your Bluetooth option, and notifications. Notifications are something to be aware of because they do inform you of updates or things that have maybe modified or changed on your computer. So it's always good to look at these. However, you don't have to have notifications on. If you find them frustrating or they're getting in the way, you can choose to turn them off by tapping this Do Not Disturb option. Or if you just want them from some applications, you want to make sure you get some notifications, but not all, you can pick and choose which applications send you notifications. Going past that, we have our option to change our volume, our brightness, and the most important thing here is our battery life, so you can see when you need to plug in. All right, now let's take a look at our keyboard. So here's the keyboard that you should see on your Chromebook. It looks very similar to other keyboards that are on other computers. However, there are some minor tweaks, and I'd like to point those out. Those minor tweaks are especially at the top line on your keyboard. And so here's a zoomed in view of those top keys. So we're going to go from the left to the right. So on the left-hand side, we have our escape button. The escape allows us to quickly exit out of something. So for example, right now I'm in presentation mode in PowerPoint. If I hit the escape, I am then taken out of that presentation mode. Following that, we have our back and forward buttons. This is very similar to what you'd find when you're browsing the internet. I can go forward or backward, depending on which direction I want to go. Following that, we have our reload button. The reload button is something you would use if you're on a site and you want to see if any new content has been added. You can tap that. We also call it the refresh, where you can then refresh the content, reload it, and see what's new on there. After that, we have our full screen button. So the full screen button allows you to take any application and expand it to a full screen so that it fills your entire Chromebook screen. Right now, I have my Chromebook screen filled. It is in full screen for my presentation. If I tap that button, it makes my presentation smaller. It minimizes it. If I tap my button again, I'm back to full screen. After that, we have our next tab button. This is also called the overview button. So when I tap that, what it does is it gives me an overview of all of the applications that are currently open on my computer. So I can see I've got 4 different things open. If there's something I don't want open, I can go ahead and close it and save myself some energy and battery life. Following that, we have our brightness controls. So I can make things darker or I can make things lighter. And then after that, we have our volume controls. I can mute, so I can completely remove all the sound. I can take the sound down, or I can take the sound back up. And last but not least, our power button. All right, now let's look at some shortcuts that you have available on your keyboard. So using some of the tools that are the keys on your left and right, as well as some of the keys on the top, those combinations can get you access to things quickly. One of the first things you might want to use on a regular basis is to search your computer. Yes, we can use our mouse and we can go over to the launcher and we can pull that up and hover over here and get the launcher back up and then use our search bar. However, we can search for things without even having to use our mouse. So on the left side of your keyboard, you have a little magnifying glass. If I tap that, it brings up my search box. So I can immediately start searching without having to move my mouse. Another thing you may want to use or you may want to access is the launcher a little bit faster. Instead of, again, moving the mouse, what we can do is we can hold the Shift key down and then the magnifying glass, and then what pops up is the launcher. So you can go to a different program, you can install something new, you can search for different tools. So that's another option for you. Another thing you may want to do is you may want to switch back and forth between 2 applications. I'm doing a presentation right now, but I also want to go to my email and share with maybe my colleagues something that I'm working on. So to do that, we're going to use the Alt and the Tab. So I'm going to hold the Alt button down and then hit the Tab. And then what I get is I can tab back and forth between 2 different programs. Okay. All right. Another thing you might want to do is take a screenshot of your computer. So maybe you want to share it with somebody in your class, or you want to add it to your presentation. You can take a screenshot of your screen. So to do that, we're going to hold the Control key down, and then that next tab button at the top of your keyboard, we hit that. And then on the right side, what you'll see is there's your screenshot. You took a screenshot. Now you can use that, put it in a presentation, in an email, whatever you'd like. Following that, you may want to do caps lock. Make all your letters capital. If you look at your keyboard, there is no quick way to do caps lock. It's just an option that's not available. Yes, you can hold the Shift key down and then tap each letter, but that might be tiresome or it might take too much time. So to lock it so that it stays all caps, the way you do that with your keyboard is you hold the Alt key down and then the magnifying glass. And then you see again, here's my caps lock. I get a notification, caps lock is on. If I want to turn it off, I do the same 2 things, Alt and then magnifying glass. Another nice feature that you may want to use is splitting your screen. Say you're looking at 2 different windows and you want to make sure you're looking at both of them at the same time instead of trying to go back and forth. You can do that. You can take one of your windows and lock it to the left-hand side and one of your windows and lock it to the right-hand side. And so to do that, we would use the Alt button, which is right next to your space bar, and then the brackets, which you would find on the right side of your keyboard, right next to the P. So the left bracket, Alt and left bracket, marks a window to the left side. The Alt button and the right bracket marks something to the right side. So let me show you what that would look like. All right, so I would like to have Harper College Library open as well as YouTube. So here's my Harper College Library window. So I'm going to do the Alt button and then the left bracket. And now that's bumped over to the left side. I also want to see YouTube at the same time. So here's my YouTube window, Alt, and the right bracket. So now because I've done that, now I can look at both windows at the exact same time and go back and forth. This might be useful to you if you have a chat room for your class as well as the Blackboard or another screen, so you can look at both at the same time. And last but not least, there may be other shortcuts that you're looking for or you're wondering about. There are plenty of others out there for you. To view all of the shortcuts that the Chromebook has to offer, what you will do is you'll hit the Control key, the Alt key, and then the question mark. And then what you'll see is a new window with all of the features and all the shortcuts that you have available to you. All right, let's move into our accessibilities. So for accessibility shortcuts, some of the ones that I feel are the most important are magnifying your screen, zooming in and out, changing the contrast, and then the voice spoken feedback. So let's first start on the magnifying the screen. So you can magnify the entire screen or just part of it. To magnify the entire screen, we do three things: the Control key, the magnifying glass, and the letter M. And now you can see that the screen is magnified, and I can look at it in a much bigger way. If I finish with that, same three things: Control, magnifying, and M. Say I'd like to only look at part of the screen magnified, Control, magnifying, and the letter D. When I do this, the full screen that I'm looking at stays small and it pumps to the bottom. And then wherever my mouse is hovering over, that turns into it becomes magnified up above. So you can see right now my cursor's over the word magnifying glass, and then up above it's magnified. Again, to turn it off, same three things: Control, magnifying glass, and D. Say I don't want to magnify, I just want to zoom into the screen. I'm going to do Control, Shift, and the equal sign. And now I can zoom in. I'm finished with being zoomed in. I can hit the Control, Shift, and the minus sign. Okay. In addition to that, maybe the contrast needs to be adjusted. Maybe it's hard to read black lettering on white background. So to change the contrast, you'll hold the Control key down, the magnifying glass, and the letter H. And now what you can see is that my screen is turned from a white background to a black background, and my letters are turned from black to white. Again, to turn it off, Control, magnifying glass, and H. Last but not least is the Chromebook Vox. This is spoken feedback. So when this feature is on, what it will do is it will have an orange box that pops up, and wherever that orange box is, whatever it's around, the computer will read those words back to you. So let's take a look at how it looks.
Toggle button. Not pressed. Ink tools menuing tools. Blank screen. Title text box. Accessibility shortcuts. Edit text. Double tap to start.
So again, as you can see, wherever that orange box is over, it will read the words to you. To access that and to turn it off, you'll do Control, Alt, and the letter Z. All right, last but not least, let's go over a couple troubleshooting suggestions. So first things first, it's always good to restart your Chromebook at least once a day. There are updates or things that change on the Chromebook, so it's nice to have it fully up to the correct settings. And so I always encourage people to restart their Chromebook once a day. However, there may be some other things that are going on. If by chance your Chromebook is too slow, one of the things you can do is you can close the different tabs or programs that you're not using. The more we have open, the slower things can be. So again, you have that next tab option at the top of your toolbar or keyboard. You can use that to see what's actually running. Or you can also close your browser and reopen it. Sometimes there's a lot of things going on in a browser, such as videos or ads that can slow things down. So you can close your browser. Maybe your computer is frozen. Maybe it's just an application that's frozen, such as maybe Chrome, the web is frozen, or maybe PowerPoint is frozen, or it's the whole computer altogether. If by chance it's just an application, what you can do is you can hold the Shift key down and the Escape button, and what you get is a little box that pops up and it shows you everything that's going on your computer. You can select any of those, and then you can choose to force quit it, end the process, so that it shuts it down on its own, and then you can try to restart it. If by chance your entire computer is frozen, the entire Chromebook is frozen, what we suggest is to hold the power button down for about 3 seconds, and that will force shut it down. Then wait about 10 to 15 more seconds and start it back up. If by chance you're not connected to the internet, one of the things to double check is your Wi-Fi connection. Make sure that you are actually connected. Another thing you may want to do is to close and reopen your browser. And finally, before seeking help and calling IT, what you can always do is to turn the computer all the way off and then turn it all the way back on. I hope that this presentation has been useful, and some of these tools are things that you can take advantage of. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, my name is Carrie Littell. My email is klittell@harpercollege.edu. In addition to that, my colleague Rebecca Noggle is also available to answer your questions, and her email is rnoggle@harpercollege.edu. I wish you the best of luck this semester and look forward to working with you.